promoting a healthy environment. It's the air we breathe. Clean, safe water. Responsible management of our natural resources. We protect and restore for a sustainable future. Environment matters.
As the river flows past Charleston toward the Ohio, it is easy to see and smell the evidence. It is polluted, heavily polluted.
That was then, this is now. A story of a river in recovery. Plus,
it's just a beautiful day to pick up some trash.
Lending a helping hand to make it shine in our neighborhood. Hello everyone and welcome to Environment Matters. I'm Kathy Costco with the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection. A friend is someone who knows you, who understands where you've been, and perhaps most importantly, is someone who is there for you when times are tough. For nearly 2 decades, a group of concerned volunteers, the Friends of the Cheat, has been that troubled river's best friend. As the DEP's Mike Huff found out, while the river has made a dramatic comeback, there's still a lot of work to be done.
It wasn't that many years ago that West Virginia's Cheat River was rated one of the 10 most endangered rivers in the country because of the effects of acid mine drainage. By the mid-1990s, water quality was so poor, fish were dying, and the area's whitewater rafting industry was nearly crippled, and that's when a group of concerned volunteers stepped in. Since 1995, Friends of the Cheat and its partners have set up 15 different acid mine drainage treatment systems throughout the watershed.
Oh, I'm absolutely optimistic. I mean, it's been going on 20 years that Friends of the Cheat has been working on the AMD problem, but we learn more every year, and we take smaller steps towards progress every year. There's fish in the Cheat Canyon, there's eagles, there's top predators in the Cheat Canyon, and just the community sentiment about the river has changed in that 20 years. It's really easy to have the attitude, oh, it's been polluted, it'll always be polluted, it'll never get better, but we have shown that it can get better.
And those efforts begin high up in the headwaters, like at this project along an old surface mine site in Preston County. The Tichenor Road AMD treatment site was originally constructed in 2005 by a grant to WVU's National Mining Reclamation Center. The project picks up a source of seep water from an old surface mine spoil. Water flows through a limestone channel to a limestone pool and then over a steel slag dam and into a wetland before moving into a small creek called Sovereign Run.
When the seep is flowing, it's flowing about 10 or 15 gallons per minute. So and you can, when you've got some shots up there, you can see where the ground is basically ditched out where the water flows. It does affect the treatment performance when it's dry, and that's one of the problems we have with this site. We have no water control structures as gates or valves to hold water back so that we can treat it before it runs out. And so we're actually brainstorming currently, Friends of the Cheat is, about how to improve this site.
Most of the treatment sites in the watershed are passive, like the Tichenor Road project. But as the science of acid mine drainage remediation improves, the technologies change.
We're at Site 62. We call it Sovereign 62. This site has a long history of different treatment approaches, and in 2010, Friends of the Cheat, in cooperation with the National Mine Land Center at WVU, installed this treatment project using 319 funds. The project involves a freshwater collection pond up at the top, which feeds a steel slag bed, and then on the other side of that same collection area are 2 portals, 2 old mine portals that feed in. The water then mixes behind me in the first leach bed cell, and there are 2 limestone leach beds in sequence, and then at the very bottom we have a wetland, which adds some natural metal removal properties.
And the numbers back that up. Metals and acidity concentrations collected at the mouth of Sovereign Run are down, starting in 1997 with an initial project, and improving significantly between 2007 and 2010 when multiple sites were constructed in the watershed. In many of those cases, that meant getting the cooperation of private landowners.
You know, we try and work cooperatively with landowners who voluntarily let us come in. I mean, this site is several acres of property that the landowners have given to us. So not only are we using taxpayer money, but we also are You know, we're also working with landowners who want to see improvement. It's crucial. Friends of the Cheat does own some properties that we've picked up in tax sales in case, you know, there are sites that we can't get voluntary buy-in, but without the landowners, we really don't have anywhere to work.
Mark Dixon is one of those landowners. A pile of limestone fines along the stream as it runs through his property helps raise the pH of the water as it flows through.
We just wanted to keep improving the stream, because when we first moved here it was still red, but now, as you can see, it's really improving. I'm a trout fisherman, and it's nice to keep the streams in good condition.
You know, we're taking small steps, but we are seeing success, and the work in Sovereign Run is a very small piece of the puzzle, but we have landowners who are starting to buy in and they see progress. But as far as the lower Cheat, you know, the entire lower Cheat watershed, there's 9 tributaries that are severely impacted, and I joke with my niece that, you know, she's going to have to take over my work when I get too old, because this is something that we'll be cleaning up for decades and decades. So you take those small victories and you hold on to those, but you just keep on keeping on. Patience and persistence.
Patience and persistence, pretty good qualities to have in a friend. In Preston County, I'm Mike Huff for Environment Matters.
To find out more about the Friends of Cheat and their work to restore, preserve, and promote the Cheat River watershed, you can check out their website, cheat.org. Different river, different problems, same result. It wasn't that many years ago that the Kanawha River was essentially dead, unable to sustain any aquatic life. But the Kanawha is also a river in recovery. The DEP's Greg Adolphson joins us now from the banks of the Kanawha with a look at just what went into bringing the river back to life.
Kathy, most summer days you'll find the Kanawha River full of people boating, fishing, or just out relaxing and enjoying the water. But that's not always been the case, and it's still something that's on the minds of longtime Kanawha Valley residents.
You know, when you get down below Charleston, the canal was really a mess. It actually stinks.
I don't see why they can't clean it up. After all, they have enough brains to figure out how to make those new detergents and those fancy plastics. Why can't they figure out a way to clean up their water instead of dumping all that stuff back into the Kanawha? It's a disgrace.
In his 1962 documentary, Crisis on the Kanawha, filmmaker Stuart Finley detailed the pollution common to the Kanawha River.
This is the ugly end of the Charleston complex. It is a cluster of chemical manufacturing plants along the banks of the Kanawha River in West Virginia. Submerged pipes draw river water into the plants. Intriguing, often secret processes take place as chemicals and synthetics are made. And then comes the great payoff. The used water is turned back into the river with a little extra bonus of contamination for good measure.
I think the biggest problem was summertime, the river, from all the industrial waste and municipal waste that were being discharged into the river. They have an oxygen demand, and basically that waste would pull the oxygen out of the water, and that caused fish kills in the summer. So every summer in the Kanawha back in the late 50s and 60s, there were fish kills in the river. And I recall a story, one of the gentlemen that has since retired, one of his first jobs, he told me, was to go to the river and scoop up the dead fish basically and haul them away so they didn't stink, and that was in the Dunbar area. Another gentleman told me that he was a kid and he grew up here in Charleston, that every summer they would go to the bridge over the Elk River and watch the catfish come up sucking for air.
And here's why. Water samples taken throughout the summer of 1963 showed no dissolved oxygen, 0 in the Kanawha River. Today it's a different story. You'll still find industries along the banks of the Kanawha, but what you won't find is untreated water being pumped back in. That's thanks to the Clean Water Act of 1972 that set in motion a way to clean up the nation's polluted streams and waterways.
It gave us 2 tools that are very powerful. One is it gave us permitting authority so we could regulate what was coming out of people's discharge pipes. And the other, it gave us an ability to help municipalities fund their wastewater treatment plants. First there was grants given to municipalities to fund treatment, and now it's a loan program. Those 2 major initiatives, combined with states given the authority to set water quality standards.
It's taken a lot of time, money, and hard work, but those efforts are paying off. DEP Cabinet Secretary Randy Huffman.
The Kanawha River drains the heart of the Appalachian coal fields, and it is one of the most diverse, biologically diverse bodies of water that you'll find anywhere in the country. It's clean. That I spend hundreds of hours a year on the river. I know what's there. I'm intimately familiar with it from one end to the other, and I think and it's not always been that way. In my lifetime, it hasn't always been that way, and I think that's a testament to testimony to what all has been done by many groups or many people over the years to make the environment cleaner. Those that were like myself, that were born and raised in Charleston, just looking from one side of the Kanawha Valley to the other 30 years ago versus today, there's a difference.
There are still problems that need to be addressed. Problems like combined sewer overflows and stormwater runoff, and the lingering effects of toxic pollutants like dioxin, PCBs, and mercury. But Kathy, the Kanawha River today is a great example of how regulators, industries, and municipalities can work together to make a difference.
Thanks, Greg. Crisis on the Kanawha was produced for Orsanco, the Ohio River Valley Sanitation Commission. Formed in 1948 to control and abate water pollution in the Ohio River Basin, Orsanco represents West Virginia and 7 other states that form the Ohio River watershed. Every June, Orsanco organizes the Ohio River Sweep, where volunteers work to remove trash from nearly 3,000 miles of shoreline along the Ohio and its tributaries. The DEP is one of many agencies partnering with Orsanco for the annual River Sweep. We'll have that story next time on Environment Matters. Coming up, recognizing some of the groups and individuals that are making a difference. We'll meet some of the winners of this year's environmental awards. Plus,
I'm Sarah Alford in Charleston. Celebrating half a century of raising environmental awareness, we'll visit the 50th edition of Youth Environmental Day. Those stories and more when Environment Matters continues.